This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Well, what can we say about AJ Styles, Kurt, that we haven't already? Is there anything else you want to say as we wrap up this episode on AJ Styles before we get to the fan questions?
Besides being the incredible wrestler he was, which I rank him in the top 4 greatest of all time, I really do. He was an incredible human being. He cared about you. He was a good family man. He asked about your family, made sure you were okay. He wasn't selfish by any means. He was a really good kid. I loved AJ Styles.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Let's get into some of the member and the fan questions here. We'll start with adfreeshows.com top guy Brad Stanton, and he says, do you think you and AJ are similar in the way you can both change your character so quickly and easily?
Change the character.
I guess he's talking go from heel to baby face and how you
you know what? You know, being over, if you're over, it's a lot easier to switch back and forth. So AJ was really over with the fans. They absolutely loved him. They either loved him or loved to hate him. They loved Kurt Angle and loved to hate Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you have that kind of bond with the fans where you're really over, you could do whatever you want. And, you know, but the hard part is when you're really over, it's really difficult being a heel. Because even when you're a heel and you're being an asshole, they're still cheering you. So they're like, hey, we're smarter than you. We know you're trying to be a heel, but we love you anyway. So, you know, it just gets a little complicated.
And your fans are totally confused because when you're the baby face, they still chant you suck. So
you're right, man.
You know,
talk about reverse psychology.
Adfreeshows.com slapnut Justin Bracken asks, after working so closely with AJ and TNA, in your expert opinion, has he been underutilized in WWE all these years?
No, he hasn't been. I mean, I will say this. They push him at certain circumstances, and then they pull back. But they never forget about AJ. They continue to utilize him as much as they can. And whenever they need him, they pull him up and they push him really hard. I mean, I think he's been world champion, what, 1 or 2 or 3 times, right?
Yeah, after he got there, they pushed him and he won the title a few times. Now, it's not been, you know, that way lately. Now, they did push him again as a singles to be a big headline match with Edge.
They're going to continue to do that. He's going to be an off and honor. Yeah. But they will continue to utilize him because they know how talented he is.
Adfreeshows.com member Hazard F5. And before I get to his question, I got to put him over. I love his content. If you're not a fan of his, Hazard F5. Awesome. I'm a belt mark. Love championship belts. Check out his YouTube. He has a Patreon. He does great content, does a lot of research for Title Chase. So I'm a big fan of his. But he asks, with AJ's wrestling, high flying, and athletic ability, when I described AJ Styles to people in 2002 to 2005, before he started becoming a big name, I described him as a mix of Rey Mysterio, Kurt Angle, and Shawn Michaels. Would you agree with that? If not, what wrestlers would you compare him to? I like that. It's a mix of Mysterio, you, and Shawn Michaels. Do you agree with that or others?
I think so. I do believe that because he had the same skill as Rey Mysterio as far as being a high flyer, a lucha wrestler, but he also had the athleticism of Shawn Michaels. And he had the great technique like Kurt Angle. So he was all 3 mixed together, which makes him like a superhuman.
Superhero. Like you said, he had that amateur pro wrestling amateur background too. So there you go. Adfreeshows.com top guy Bryant Haremza asks, I've always loved your rivalry with AJ Styles and TNA. Is there one particular match that sticks out to you as your favorite with him?
I would say Slammiversary 2008. I think we went almost 30 minutes. AJ beat me, but it was the first time that I had like a really long, solid 4-star match with AJ. And it showed me how talented he truly was. I mean, you know, usually, you know, you wrestle on TV or house shows, you go 10 or 15 minutes. But having this lengthy match and being as good as he did, as consistent throughout the match, really impressed me.
This is a fun question for you, Kurt. It comes to us from a guy by the name of Phil Jackson, and he says, most people say that Daniel Bryan is the best wrestler bell-to-bell in the ring today. I've always disagreed with this statement. I've been saying AJ Styles is the best for years. How do the two compare to you, and who do you think is better?
That's tough, man.
This is like the Matt and Jeff Hardy question.
They're like identical. You know, they're so much alike. And as far as their styles and everything they do, they're great at submission. They're great at high flying. They're great at anything that belongs in the ring. I will say this. I will pick AJ only because I wrestled him. I never wrestled Daniel Bryan. If I did, I might change my mind. So
that makes sense.
I'm just saying AJ right now because I wrestled him.
That's your only experience is with him and hands-on with him in the ring. So you have every right to make that pick. There you go. Richie says, who pitched you and AJ as a tag team, and how do you think you gelled as a team?
I think, first of all, the writers pitched us. They wanted to do something different. They wanted to keep AJ and I away from the TNA World Heavyweight title, so we would have a different run, a different storyline going on. But AJ and I had great chemistry because we were so different. You know, AJ was a high flyer. I was a technical wrestler. And we gelled together really well. We had some incredible tag matches, especially with Kaz and Kazarian and Daniels. Those matches were priceless.
Absolutely. Two more questions this week, Kurt. Cole says, how did you feel when you heard AJ was making the switch from Impact and eventually going to WWE?
I was so excited for him. That was his lifelong dream. He always wanted to be in WWE someday, either WWE or WCW. And he finally made it, and I was so happy for him.
Eddie Prather asks, where would you rank AJ on your all-time opponent list?
I already said that. I would say top 4. It's a tie. I can't really pick anyone in particular, but Chris Benoit, Shawn Michaels, Eddie Guerrero, and AJ Styles. Those 4 guys are my 4 favorites to work with.
That's a who's list for sure right there, man.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.